cooked with rum at fire door? I mean, you did mention this is something special we got on tonight.
This is new. This is a new project that I started, and trying to find a way, again, a lot of trial and error to try and adjust the parameters slightly, because obviously its makeup is very different. The makeup of a rump is very different to your, your sirloins or your fillets, Is there a 2-second rule if I drop the steak? Pete will still eat it. Thanks, Pete.
I think we'll still jump on there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the restaurant it's all open plan. I never had a restaurant before. I never worked in an open plan kitchen. So everything to finally own my own restaurant and put myself on the show is quite something. And even this evening, I'm getting nervous for all you guys watching me. Shit, what happens if I get it wrong? There's probably a few chefs out there going, what the fuck's he doing?
Do you get it wrong still these days?
Yeah, of course we do.
20 years of cooking and fire?
Yeah. We all continue to making mistakes. Error is human. That's what makes us human. The fact that we cook, we make mistakes, and we tell stories. And this is, my form of storytelling through fire and ingredients. It's what we do. We tell the stories about the producers. People like David. All these producers dedicate their lives to doing one thing. So my job largely is only nothing more than I always wanted to be a chef. And I was like, pretty much since I was 15. But actually, if I go back even further, when I was 6 years old, I used to try and pretend to be a conductor, the old baton. And often I feel that the ingredients and the producers are the stars. It's just finding a way in which you can bring all these amazing ingredients together. And if you get amazing ingredients, let's be honest, when it comes to the end of the day, all you got to do is try not to bugger it up.
I mean, essentially that's what we're always trying to do. And tell us about how you met David Blackmore with the beef. I mean, how did you get in contact with him in the first place? Did you hear about it, or did you stumble across it?
He's been around a lot longer than me, both in his age, but also in what he's been doing. I've been cooking the last 30 years. Coming to Australia, it was, from overseas, you start to get a bit of a feel for the people who are doing amazing things out there. But it's quite interesting when you find, I think, producers who have spent years doing one thing, and you can do as a chef, you like to transform ingredients. This is kind of transformation at its base level. You can transform his ingredient and give it to him in a different way, give it back to him in a different way he's never experienced before, maybe even thought about. Because at the end of the day, all aging is essentially dependent on, it's like wine. What is winemaker later on, if we talk about that, it's only, you can age anything. But it's only really high quality things, you can drink them young, you can happily eat this steak fresh, and you'll go, fuck, that was a great steak. But it's only through aging it transforms into something else. And I think that's the interesting thing, they're different expressions of the same ingredient.
Do you still like playing around with a fresher steak and still using that in certain different ways, or are you always really yearning for that deep dry age?
I mean, we also do some wet aging. I tend to find, because of the voracious appetite there is, Australia is very much like the north of Spain. In fact, we're very protein driven, and that voracious appetite, particularly as soon as you say the word steak to anyone, and particularly in the restaurant, that's why people kind of fixate on it so much. There's this idea of exactly what it's going to be. Because of that high demand, most things that we eat in Australia tend to be too fresh. We don't normally give it the time, because time is money. Storage is money. It makes absolutely no sense for anyone in their right mind if you could if this steak's a really good steak by itself, Wagyu, no one ages Wagyu, and they've never done it before because you don't have to. But actually there's something really special happens over that period of time. This transformed flavour profile can vary depending on, the animal itself, its diet and the environment, but it can vary anywhere from an earthiness, mushroomy, nuttiness. People say cheesiness. I tend, because the process is slightly less on the blue cheese scale, more towards the aged parmesan level, dry sherry, things like this, popcorn. All these things have been descriptors that people have used in terms of, and we've seen in terms of the beef that we've aged over the years.
So that's a very particular flavour. Do you get similar flavours with different breeds of cattle, and do you age them as long as well?
Different breeds. Yeah, I'd say less so for the grass fed. Tends to be the fat does help go the distance a bit longer in terms of that aging. In terms of that maturation of flavour, there's always a really rich flavour with some of the dairy cows. So if it was like a 7 to 7.5-year-old dairy cow, would probably, you'd probably take it off about 150 days. And that's the thing, you kind of like trying to find the window, the point where, and again, I cook the food I want to eat. I decide, I try and make myself happy first, and hopefully people come to the restaurant and they want to share that happiness. But I try and over the years, try and find a window where I feel it reaches maximum potential before it drops off. Again, much like the wine, before it gets too old, depending on how it's been stored, and the flavour profile transforms too much, that you cease to realise that it's a piece of steak. It becomes like a full blue cheese, like it's something else.
That's amazing. And in the restaurant, I know steak is by far not the only thing you're cooking over the beautiful fire. You've got a lot of fish, shellfish, loads of vegetables. Does that challenge you to explore different proteins and vegetables over the fire?
Yeah, definitely. I think as I get older, I mean, a few things change for me, both spending years working in French restaurants where everything was like, you throw basically butter at everything. Everything was cooked in kilos and kilos and kilos of butter, which is great. It tastes amazing. And everyone goes, oh, it's so buttery. But actually it masks a lot of flavour, and it's actually not that great for your digestive system. There's only certain limits to how much butter you should consume. And certainly as I get older, I want to kind of eat better quality. I think just over the years, you kind of like, we will try and look after ourselves, but just try and like, eat more fish, shellfish and vegetables, and a smaller amount of meat, really high quality meat. I think that makes a difference as opposed to, don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting, don't get me wrong, there are some people who come into the restaurant and will somehow voraciously eat a whole one of those, and I don't quite get it, but anyway, there's a piece to that.
Amazing. And but talking about butter and fats as well, because animal fats are the most healthiest fats, aren't they, for you?
Yes, they are. And it's interesting because we've all gone around circle over the years in terms of things like lard and stuff like that. But it's comparatively, there's always new research out, and it's always really interesting to see sort of where things are kind of heading. But I think the less mucked around the fat is. Mess around with fat, like if you think about like a beautifully pressed olive oil or an animal fat, I'd rather have that to anything that's been kind of like processing basically, over handling. And that's why what we try and do at the restaurant is minimal handling. It's like ingredient, fire, serve it, that's what it is.
So that's important to you in the restaurant, as you say, with processing. So you're not, I imagine you're not buying in too many different processed ingredients to add into the food. You're really, processing them yourselves. I mean, the word process, I think, can be knocked around a few times, and some people think, it can be a bad thing, but if you mince a piece of beef, then that's processed.
No, true. And don't get me wrong, the aging itself is a process. I think when there's multiple factors and it ceases to be recognisable from what it originally was, it's sort of you're taking away from the producers who produced it in the first place. Like I think there's a bit of over manipulation, I'm saying that because I've been there. Like I've worked in restaurants in parts of the world where you've got 12 guys doing 6 different things for each ingredient, and it gets a bit crazy.
Well, as you say, if you can't recognise it, and having that control is important, isn't it? If you're making butter, you know what's gone into that butter. If you're curing a fish, you know the ingredients that have gone into that cure, because so often, especially a lot of cured fish, there's a lot of nasties that can go into it.
Yeah, definitely.